Should be nice and loud. Well, it's good enough, I guess. Loudness wise, is it?
Yeah. I can hear you fine.
What's
Uh,
those magnetostats you have?
the what?
The magnetostats, the headphones.
Oh yeah, the planars. These are Audi's LCDXs.
Right. I got myself some hi-fi mans.
Oh, are they like the super expensive ones?
No, no, no. Actually, they're Chinese like magnetostats. You get them for like a good price, like 400 or so. But they're pretty awesome. Like really, like the difference
Uh,
is
are they the ones that like on the forums they tell you to pull the foam out of them to make them sound a little clearer? So my friend Ulisile, he got these like planar magnetic headphones, and everyone on the forums was saying like there's this foam shit on the inside that if you pull it out, it like has it just sounds a little better. And he did that, and I don't know, is that not is this
no,
not
no,
something
no.
you've heard about?
It's
Okay.
just like they're literally called hi-fi man. So it's like a bit bizarre when you have like that logo on the side and a big H. You know, they come like in a like luxurious package and it says hi-fi man. It's like, all right, okay, I'm gonna try it. I don't know.
Cool. So
Okay, should we
wait,
start?
yeah, you're recording, right?
Yeah, wait. Let me check again. Yeah, that looks good.
Oh, well then
I
in
have
that case we have already started.
okay. Well, I appreciate you inviting me. Thank you.
Yeah, of course, man. Thanks for coming on. So for people that are like not aware of you or what you do, you make the program Resonic audio player, and it's my favorite audio browser for sure. And a lot of people always ask me about it on my stream, and they're always disappointed when they find out it's Windows only. But the best way I can explain it is it's essentially like Windows Explorer if Windows Explorer had like a really nice real time audio player in it. It kind of, in a way, is like one thing I missed about Apple, because I used Apple for a long time, is being able to like click on a file and just hit space bar or whatever to bring it up in Finder and play it. And I'm sure
Mhm.
there's a way to do that in Windows, but I just have never really looked into it too much. But yeah, one thing I really like about Resonic is you can just access like all your folders and stuff on the side there. It's just essentially like an Explorer or whatever.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's what you do, and yeah, I just want to talk about a little bit about that, I guess. How did you get into like programming and stuff?
Actually, I have no idea. Like it, it's just out of interest, I guess. Right. So you just, I don't know. It was kind of like an escapism for me, right? So like when I was well, I didn't have like the best time in school and generally in that time, like family wise and so forth. You have like, well, let's say it was a bit rough, but I didn't have anything to like escape myself into. So then I got my hands on like a 486 PC, um, and well, you kind of like sink into that, right? And you're like, it was all like DOS. So like, you're like, what the fuck do I do with this? What is this? What is this? Like, it's just text, text. You're typing the commands and stuff. But eventually, you get a hang of it. And I started before that with like C64s. I actually had a C 128, like a Commodore, right? Those like big boxes, and went from there to an Amiga A2000, also a big box, not the small ones. And it was all about gaming back then. Like it was just so far ahead of PC, graphics wise and everything. And it had this audio engine, like you could play samples, like proper samples. You had this hard left right separation, and it was like fascinating. Graphics, proper sound, everything was amazing. And then you switch to PC at some point from all this gaming, and you're like, what the hell is this? And you played Commander Keen, and it was like, what is that? Like 8-bit graphics and like weird like CGA graphics and like bleeps out of the PC speaker. So that was like a step back. Like you're going from a console to like a little like black DOS window, right? And you're like, all right. But then like it changed a little bit. Doom came and all these games. So it was a bit, it was just fascinating, like it sucked you in, and then the coding came, right? So like you're like, how do I make these little things, these commands, and how what can I do with this thing, right? And this is where it all started, right? Because you think, well, so what can I do right now? Yeah. So and then I met some much older dude who was like into coding, and I just watched him a little bit, and he was doing like C plus, actually C coding, and I watched him a bit, and I'm like, okay, well, this is fascinating. I want to do that. I want to try that. And so it just became a hobby in the end. It's just it was basically just playing around with it and escaping into it to get away from all the crap around you. And in like, I mean, it was too young to like get into drinking or something. So was like around, I don't know, like 14 or something. And you just sink into it, and it's a good place to be, because you could be in worse places, right? So like, and there's nothing. So, and then step by step, all the new stuff came. Like you went on to Windows, like then Windows 95, and all this stuff came, step by step by step by step. But in the end, it it all ended up being just well, escapism mainly. So like, not like I want to do this as a job. It's just fun, like play around. And I never wanted to do it as a job,
Now
ironically.
it's your job.
Well, pretty much my job, yeah. But like by, I guess, time went by, like you realize that people don't are not interested in what I do artistically, or are not interested in like any of the demo scene stuff I've been doing, or like like graphics, like audio, like composing, tracking
Dude,
music and stuff.
demo scene is the craziest shit. For people who don't know what that is, it's essentially like trying to make these incredibly small programs, right? That are like 100 kilobytes or less, that are both full audio and video.
Exactly, that's like demo scene is basically like a community of people who try to get the most out of nothing, right? That's the goal. So like you have old systems, retro computing, like consoles, even like Amiga C64s and all of that stuff, and you try to like push what you can do with that. So like get the most the craziest like effects, or like graphical effects or whatever, out of a CPU that is not really made for it, right? It's like something really weak. Like people do like wild demos. They do the code stuff on calculators and on Raspberry Pis these days. Complete things. And then of course you get like composing music, tracking music. For people who don't know what tracked music is, you have like, you can kind of imagine it like a MIDI file with samples in it. Yeah, like very much simplified, but it has like effects and everything built in. So you need to have a player that can actually replay these effects. And you don't have a synthesizer engine in that sense, but then really you do. The player itself is the synthesizer, and it just replays the commands and the notes and everything in it, and that's associated with like samples, and they play in a certain way. Like a self-contained thing that you feed into a player. Yeah. And so, but and instead of like working horizontally, like from like classic like music production these days, you don't have a timeline that is like left to right,
Yeah, it's like top to
but
bottom, right?
top to bottom, exactly. And so
Yeah.
like different channels, and then you write the commands in basically in numbers and in
Mm.
hexadecimal numbers and whatever,
Yeah,
plain notes.
Renoise is a good example of that, right? And I remember,
Renoise, exactly.
yeah, there's a few people on my label who use Renoise, and I feel like everything I ever hear come out of Renoise always just sounds so Venetian snaresy, like got that sound about it or something. Or it's like just the way the program works just makes you like write Venetian snares music or something.
Well, yeah, it's because you can speed it up, right? You can set the speed of how, like, you need to imagine like that as like falling the note, like you're falling over like a set of notes, right? And you can speed it up as fast as you want, right? So you can, like, if you want to like uh, super fast, like but you can like do it in any way you want, and that's the thing. And it's because everything is kind of quantized, right? There is no like shuffling or whatever. Well, in Renoise there is, but like, typically everything is like, like in a certain stepping. right? It steps over line, like each row, next row, next row, next row at a certain speed, right? And this is basically how why it sounds like that, and it's just easy to make it that way, right? But renoise is like tracking on steroids.
Would you not say that linear DAWs are kind of the same though? It's like they're stepping over things at a quantized rate, but it just happens in the other direction. I mean, you
Well,
can automate the BPM and whatnot, but it's still at a
w-
quantized rate of the BPM that you're automating.
well, you mean like classic production? Um,
I mean, like Ableton or something versus.
yeah. Well, no, because MIDI is a bit different. MIDI has a resolution, a very high resolution compared to that. So you can basically take your note or your event or your MIDI command or whatever, and you can set it to any point in that resolution where you want to put it, right? While in a tracker, well, you have like row, 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 and that plays at a certain speed. So there is nothing in between, right? If you want more resolution, you need to speed up your track and then spread out the notes,
Gotcha.
like
Interesting. Yeah.
use every 10th row or something, right?
I see. And that's why like a lot of this tracker stuff is just all locked to 16ths or something like that.
Exactly, yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty much it, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense actually. So what was the precursor for Renoise? Like what made you go like, oh, I'm gonna make an audio player?
Resonic.
Resonic, sorry, my bad.
um
We're talking about Renoise, so it was on my mind for whatever reason.
no, it's fine. The like actually, like, because there is nothing exists that can play sounds and audio files, and like basically everything there is in audio, right? That is made for professionals, right? So everything you have is kind of like an audio play, a music player, let's say, okay? Like more like audio in a sense of like tunes, right? You're playing tunes. So it's not made for professionals. It's not made for people who like produce music, who like need to work with sound effects or sounds in whichever context. If that's like say doing film sound or game sound or whatever, you're just someone who needs to browse the files, right? Or you have like you can't have a fade in at the beginning when you start playing that. If you loop it, it needs to be seamless. If you want a nice loop, then you should be able to go down all the way to single cycle. So go like super quick, like almost synthesizer style, which you can do in Resonic, right? So you can almost like make effects with that and like record the output. And then playing the next file, like all looping stuff. If you've ever looped stuff in Winamp, then it doesn't really work. And when stuff is short, be it VLC or other players, they're not made for that. They're not made for short sounds. They're made for like a tune. Fades in, plays nicely. Maybe there's a crossfade and all that to the next tune and stuff. That's nice. And that's how you want it, but not in production. So, but well, that was one aspect. But the other thing was that actually I was doing like field recordings, and I was recording one shots mainly, right? So like you go outside and you find stuff to hit, basically. You find things to hit it with, and then you hit it, and then you record this like kick replacement or snare replacement or something like some rhythmic things. And you end up with this 10-minute recording or half an hour recording, and you have like hundreds of one shots in there. So what now? You open that thing, and then I mean, think about the process. You have like let's assume 10 minutes, right? Loads of hits. You just play through it, and you go like, okay, no, no, no. Oh, this one's interesting. Okay, this one sounds interesting. So what do you do now? Okay, so you have that in a player. You don't have a waveform for a start. You don't see what you have, right? So it's just playing, and you hear it, and okay, where is it? And then check the time in the player. Then you need to find that file, that recording. You need to open that in some wave editor, like whatever it is. Then you need to find that place again. You need to cut that out, make a new file, save it somewhere, give it a name and something. Then open your DAW, or like open the door, open like a drum sequence, or like wherever you want it, right? a drum synth, drop it on a St. Ableton, a drum rack in a clip, right, in a slot. So, but the process, like uh, from hearing it to like having it, is insane. It's complete insanity. You know,
Yeah,
like
I agree with that. It's
it blocks your flow. It blocks your creative flow. So you don't, the juices stop, and you're like, oh fuck this, I don't want to do this. You do it 10 times, you don't want to do it anymore. That was the trigger. Yeah.
mhm.
So like seeing that, and right from the start, even like that was 2011 when I started the player. Like had the first ideas before that, but the idea was always I want to see the waveform, and when I see that sound, I want to mark it and I want to drag it out directly into a clip. You know, to be creative with it. That was the idea. So aside from not having a player, right? And the fun thing is today you still don't have players that do that.
Yeah, it's actually yeah strange that Resonic is the only one that is kind of doing this stuff. But yeah, I just made a sample pack called Spectra, and I just released it recently. And Resonic was like such a huge part in it. I Without Resonic, that shit would have taken me like a year. Instead, it took me a couple of months, which was still a long ass time. But yeah, the being able to just like navigate through folders quickly. Also, one thing I really love is when I get a new sound. So I run a label too called Belegal Sounds,
Mhm.
and we release our own sample packs on Splice as well. um, Speaking of which, if you're a sound designer listening to this, want to release a sample pack with us, send a demo to belegalbeats@gmail.com. All right, plug done. But yeah, so one thing I really like is when people send us a sample pack. Generally within that sample pack, there's a ton of folders. There's like the root folder, which is just like, XYZ artist sample pack or whatever. And then there's like, one shots and then loops. And then in the one shots folder, there's like kicks, snares, hi hats, cymbals, rides, like all that kind of stuff. And then in the loops folder, there's like, uh, you know, 4 bar loops, 8 bar loops, 16 bar loops, or whatever. And then within those, it's like what kind of loops? It's like synth loops, ambient loops, breaks, all sorts of stuff like that. And just going through all those folders so granularly in Windows Explorer and then like playing stuff in VLC is just so painful. Or even just like looking through it in Ableton's browser within Ableton is so painful to just like click through and check it all. Whereas in Resonic, you just hit Alt and then like click on the root folder and it just shows you literally everything that's in there. And you can just like click through everything within Resonic. It's really, really nice. It's saved me so much time.
Well, it basically goes through all the folders and recurses into them, like into every one, like the whole structure, and then just pops everything into one playlist, basically.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then
But
like as you click through it, it like highlights the folder on the side that you're in. So it's like the exact same thing. Like you know exactly where you are when you're scrolling through this giant playlist. You just don't have to click through a ton of folders to do it.
right, yeah, it always like strikes me as a bit peculiar when you think about like these people who make these sample packs. Sometimes, they have such like strange thinking. Like, how do you think like this kind of like structure is interesting or like clever to have? I mean, they all kind of work in Explorer, right? So they're
Yeah.
making this bizarre structure, and they don't feel like that it's a bit tedious to navigate that with the
It
stuff that we
it
have.
is. I mean, so for starters, like the way that I search for samples in Ableton is I never look through a sample pack and go like, oh, this sample pack, I want to go into the drums folder and then the one shots folder and then the kicks folder and then look through the kicks. Like that's not how I do it. I hit Control F and I type the word kick, and then
Right, yeah.
whatever comes up, I like pick one, and that's the pretty much only way that I search for
Well,
samples. And yeah, I kind of agree that foldering it up that way is a bit tedious and annoying, but the people who are at the forefront of the sample industry, which is Splice Sounds, kind of have like a standard for foldering stuff up in that way for submission. So I think maybe that's kind of where people get it from. But people were doing this way before Splice Sounds. So maybe Splice Sounds just took it from the predecessors and then it just sort of has carried on because of that.
well, I have so many sample packs that just don't make any sense. Like, like I get it. Like if you have a certain structure, like you have in Spectra, that makes complete sense, right? But like sometimes it goes like your file naming is also nice, like you can associate it, right? So it belongs with spectra. Um, but like sometimes, especially older packs. I mean, it's getting a bit better now, but the older packs, like, they're so deep. The nesting is so deep, like, and then you have like 3 files in a folder, and like, how are you going to use this for real now? So, like, when there's no program that can actually like scan all of that at the same time, it's a bit strange, but it's just how it is. And anyways, you said like you do Control F and you search for kick, right? Or what do you do when it's called kick with no C or BD or whatever, like, or BDR
Or
or
just like freeze dot wave or something like that.
exactly, or LKK or whatever, like, what do you do? So that's kind of like the the other main goal of the whole project is like to unify that and like make this system, well, we call it auto tagging, but it's probably a bit like an understatement. It's really not really related to like tags itself, like tagging in sense of like artist title, tag, like more like a hashtag. You need to think about it. So like assigning, like finding all of these things, grouping them together, and then attaching like a hashtag kick. So instead of like doing like Control F and kick, you would actually look for hashtag kick, and so you would find the sounds that you didn't even know you had, right? So that's the idea. Well, and since we've announced like years ago, really, like a few different programs have like implemented that, but the way they do it is just nowhere close to how we do that. So they like look for a substring, like a portion of text in a name, and if it contains kick, well, then it's gonna assume it's a kick, right? Kick drum. But there's way more to that. There's a lot of like damage you can do. Like a great one is like, I'm not going to say the name of that program, but like it's very common that you look for like you have something called monkey, right? A file like monkey wave, and it categorizes that as keyboards because there's key in it, and that's just not how we do that because it's too like crude, and I don't think it helps. Then you have like combinations that you also want to find, right? If it doesn't, I mean, there's like situations where words just join together and they have a different meaning as if they were separate. You know what I mean? So like categorizing that correctly and just doing like all the drums, the percussion, then also tying back in all the instruments that are possible. Like I've done so much research in that direction recently. Again, like because you have like oriental exotic instruments that are not that common, right? You have loads of names and just loads of misspellings and loads of like ways to find these things. But if you can all like group them into like a bunch of hashtags, have a few like main hashtags, like you start with like percussion as a main hashtag, or like just drums for like actual drums, and then go smaller from there, like drums, kick, electronic, and then like into more detail, like is it processed, is it like distorted, or like like adjectives that can categorize what you're looking for. So that's kind of like the goal.
Yeah,
Also,
nice.
you just want to find guitars, and you find all kinds of guitars, not just like uh, Western guitars, but like all kinds of guitars, like Asian guitars and Indian guitars, whatever. And then you can like separate with another hashtag to filter that, to separate that further. But the point being that you just want to find stuff uh, that you don't normally use, right? So that is kind of the goal. Find
Yeah,
everything you have.
yeah, totally. I've always thought that like like folder tree systems are kind of dumb and that tagging systems make a ton more sense. And one of the first companies I feel like that really saw this and actually acted upon it was Splice. They were like, yeah, why do we do this foldering thing? Even though like their submission process does require you to folder things up to submit. On the front end, when you're actually searching for samples, it does it all by tagging, right? So like you say, I want drums, I want kick, I want something that's like, 8080 or whatever. and then it will like
Right.
just
Yeah.
show you things that have those tags associated to them. And I agree that like the same thing is needed on like a local level on your own hard drive via a program like Resonic or something. But I guess my question is, how do you achieve that from like a programming perspective? Because like you said, if there's a sample called monkey, and you don't want to search by words, to be like, all right, that's not a keyboard, that's an animal. How do you like, set it up from a programming perspective to be like, uh, don't recognize this as a keyboard just because it has the word key in it. Recognize this as like a sample of, a jungle animal, and recognize this other thing that's called like key monk or something like that as like, a keyboard that's played by Thelonious Monk or something like that.
um, well, it kind of started like analyzing stuff. So like we don't just use the file name. We don't actually like the system doesn't analyze the content. So that's the first thing. Like I have to say, like people ask it quite a bit. Like, does it analyze the wave content? Like, does it analyze the sound? No, it doesn't. That's the whole point. Like that can be added on later, and I've some plans for that in the back of my head. But it mainly looks at metadata, right? That means file name. There's a lot of stuff that Resonic reads. Like it's one of the strongest things about Resonic is the metadata support, like what it reads out of files. It reads Apple information, Apple Finder information, right? Apple Loop information. It reads like ACID and even sound miner stuff for people who are more like in sound effects and stuff. So like it pulls that out and it decides what to use, right? And all of this information kind of flows into deciding what patterns we have, what we see, and what this could be, not just the file name. And then the next bit is like I got like millions and millions of file names sent by users over the years to analyze what they have and to analyze patterns aside from my own like sample collection, and then figure out like uh, how what is common, right? What do people have? Because we all have like old sample CDs that are like weirdly named, and then we have new sample CDs that are a bit more modern already, right? So like, but what patterns do exist, and how can you reduce that into something that makes sense? If you look at it as a person, right, and you go like, it's easy for you as a person going like, okay, you look at this weird name and you're like, okay, I know this is that. Oh yeah, you're just assuming based on like experience, right? But a program that just reads letter by letter or character by character of a name, like how can it know what it is? It's impossible. So first of all, you need to like know what words can even appear, like, and what words is it, like how is it written, how is it connected, does it have like brackets, does it have underscores or dashes or whatever, like you analyze that, all of this, and that all flows into deciding what it could be, right? That is
So it
basically the
still
background.
does it off characters and not off like spectral analysis, or are you saying you would combine both of these things to figure out what a sample is?
No, like I said just in the beginning, it doesn't analyze the content. That's the number one thing people ask. So does it analyze the audio content? No, it doesn't. And the whole idea here is that I'm like, it's not using AI, it's not using deep learning, it's not using any of that stuff. It's also not analyzing audio at this point. All of that can be added on if it's needed. But I think, especially in music production, because it's going to be separate from music production and film, or like sound effects people. That's important that you have a separation there. And I'm sure some will pick that up at this point now that I said it. But it's really important because, well, a screaming lead or a screaming sound is something else in sound effects than it is in music production, right? You can have something screaming, but that will most likely be a person, right?
Mm.
In sound effects, so that the meaning is different, and there's a lot of difference in meaning in words. But so the idea is to like have basically a human curated system that covers, because what we have is finite, right? Like it's not like we have a bazillion words and things that we use, right? Like there's some niche words, but to cover the majority, you get a pretty good idea, like analyzing that stuff, like what is actually being used by people. And it's really finite and it's really human the way it's interpreted. And that's the good thing about it. And the best thing is that it takes like per file, right? You don't even feel it. So like you can go through like tens of thousands of files and it hardly takes a second, right? And it can be like extended and improved. Like I can update the whole like patterns dictionary and all the system behind it. I can update that. And well, the idea is that you enter a folder, and if you have like 1,000 files in there, the moment you enter the folder, you already have a complete set of words, hashtags in that sense, right? That basically describe what you have in that folder. But just like that, the moment the files come in, the names come in, maybe the durations of the files come in, you already have all the words, they're all there. So like no waiting, no analyzing, nothing, it's just there. And it's already very good to get like a first idea of what you have and what you want to find or what you can find, right? You can always add on like audio analysis, like analyze the brightness of a sound and what is the dominant frequency. Is it more like a mid-range or high mid sound, or like, like, and go from there,
Right,
that's
but with that way of working, where essentially when you open a folder, you just take the list of names that comes from that folder, and then just pass them individually, and just put that through like a search filter of some sort. Don't you run into that same problem of searching key and getting the sample of the monkey?
no, because the engine would have already attached uh, the hashtag, whatever it is, keyboard,
Mm.
right?
But how does
So
it?
you
I still don't
so
understand how it knows to do that if we're going just based off the name.
well, that is the whole point of the engine. It's not that easy to explain, but it's quite complex. But it does a lot of like shuffling back and forth and exclusion and like combining things and patterns and like deciding which words could go together and then maybe like turn them back and forth and stuff and find that out. But in the case of monkey, I mean, it's pretty straightforward because monkey is, well, key is a word on its own, right? Is not a word on its own when it's part of monkey. Like, it's always written together in you know. But then think about like the situation where you have something. Um, what should I use? Like electric kick or electro kick. Yeah, let's take that. And now assume it's all written in lowercase, right? And it just says electro kick. It's not as it's easy for us to see, okay, those are two words when you look at it, electro kick put together. But again, for like a computer program or like something that is not human, uh, it's just lowercase letters in a certain order, right? It kind of needs to know which word is a word. It's different when you have like an uppercase E in electro and an uppercase K and all put together, like electro kick, then you can kind of assume, okay, well, those are two words, right? Yeah, but there's so many situations where this just doesn't work. And also, when you use interpunctation, when you have like colons, dots, and dashes, and underscores, and brackets in a name or in metadata, um, we have a certain way of interpreting the meaning of those elements, right? The way what we mean them to do. So like you can pretty much almost say that when you have an underscore, you use it as a space, right? It's a space. It's probably not going to be anything else, but it's not that easy for all the other symbols. So again, here you need to interpret what is it, what could it be, how is it meant in that context, right?
Mm.
Kind of like, let me just bring this one example. So let's go away from music production and sound effects. Let's just go to music tunes. Say you have a tune and it has a name, and then you have in brackets it says original mix, right? Yeah, or like whatever, like Mr. Bill remix or whatever, like in brackets. You typically put that in brackets. See, you already have a meaning there, or like a standard, non-standard standard, and that how we use those symbols for a
Mm.
certain thing, right? So that you wouldn't write like tune name and then Mr. Bill remix just without any brackets. That would be weird, right?
Right. So you're pretty much trying to find as many of these sort of trends in file naming as possible to turn into like a list of hashtags that the program will then take into account to then go through samples, and it might, have an 80% accuracy or something like that.
Pretty much, yeah. Like it's
Mm.
probably even a bit
But
higher
like
than 80.
that, yeah, right. But like that,
But you're right, yeah.
at the cost of like not getting it 100% of the time, you get that really snappy machine level language going.
Yeah, but it's there. It's instantly there. And
Yeah,
it
right.
just
Yeah.
and it just doesn't use the file name. It's not just the file name, right? There's so much stuff that I can't even like start to explain like how much stuff is in files that isn't read by any program. Like there is
Mm,
no program reads these things. Like I'm not aware of any program anywhere except Apple Finder that reads Apple Finder information. Like in Apple Loops, there's so much stuff in there. Yeah,
mm,
there's like hardly any program reads Cubase information, like media bay information, like SoundMiner information. I was like, there's so much stuff like that comes from everywhere, all directions that can be used in meaningful ways. Like that that flows into the same system.
mm. Yeah, right. Interesting. There's more information like that in like an AIF than a wave, isn't there?
Yeah, if it's an Apple loop,
Mm,
um, and an I file is just well, it's pretty much the same as a wave, just with a slightly different structure. But just because it's an IF doesn't mean it has content, right? If it's labeled an Apple loop, that pretty much means that those loops need to go through a tool, like either this Apple Loops tool, or I think it's called Apple Loops utility that sample producers have, and the other one I think it's done in Logic, as far as I know. So when you make a Logic loop or like an Apple loop in Logic, then you can like assign like certain what category is it, like it generates the transients for it, and what style of content is it, what is it like you can choose from an assortment of words, and all of these things are stored in the I file, and those I read and I interpret again. So like you have that on top of that. So if it's an Apple loop and you load it in Resonic, you'll also see the transients. So like where you can snap into and then like select certain beats and stuff.
mm. Actually, I've noticed that. Yeah, I've also noticed that there's some files that I opened that were rendered out of Logic or Fruity Loops or something like that, and there'll be a bunch of like marker information in the file, and
Right.
I'll
Yeah.
be able to see like what the names of the markers were in that person's session. Like they'll have build, drop one,
Yeah.
delete this section, or like fix this section. Like it's super funny to like go through and like uh see someone's markers that you're not supposed to see. Like it gives you
Well, but they're in the file, so
right,
they're basically in there. So you're
right.
supposed to
But I
see them.
mean, well,
Someone
I
someone
don't think.
saved them in there.
Well, I don't think they intended for it. Like I think they accidentally just rendered that out with the file from Logic or Fruity or whatever. I've never seen it from an Ableton file, but yeah, for some reason it happens sometimes on Fruity files and Logic files.
Yeah, FL Studio has like a lot of like it exports a lot of like marker information. It exports like upbeats and downbeats, even like all this stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there, and but it's kind of cool because I read it all. It's all like even the stuff that you don't see. But I guess like some people use markers as comments, like as a notepad, right? So like
Hmm.
instead of actually using them for like sections, they use it for like you said, like delete this or whatever. And so
Yeah,
yeah,
that's how I usually use it. I mean, I use it just as yeah, quite often as a notepad to be like, all right, I need to fix this section, or add more sub here.
This is actually another thing that I had in mind is I have like about like 40 different types of markers at the moment in the metacore, the Resonic metacore that uh, reads all these types of information, right? So there can be in MP3s and in ID3 tags or whatever, like everywhere. But I thought about like having some kind of a like comment function, like kind of timed notes, right? That way you can go through the tune in Resonic and then like literally like do that, right? Add a comment or add a note there, like about stuff that you want to fix, right? And then have that separate layer, like a note layer in there that you can switch on and off. So
Hmm.
you would listen to your bounces and then add notes to it as you go along, as you listen to it.
It's a good idea. You know what might also be a good feature if you're building this program for audio people is maybe like an ABX blind testing thing. So people can like check masters against each other without having any biased opinion. Like a blind test. There's a plugin that does it, I think, called Hofer Double Blind. And the idea, and usually, like, that's back in the day, you used to have to get a friend to help you do this. But essentially, you would render two files, one called A, one called B. And if you want another one called C, and then you just get somebody to play you back both files in a random order and then choose which one you like, A or B, and then you can say sort of objectively without knowing which one you put more work into or whatever, or which one you are biased towards for whatever reasons, that you actually do prefer that one objectively. And yeah, that can be pretty helpful. I don't know if that would be useful in Resonic.
I'm not exactly sure how you would implement that, but if you would just have a way to turn off the file names for a start.
Yeah, exactly. Just like turn off the file names and like randomize them in some order so you could like still click between both files, but you just couldn't see which one was which.
Right. Well, that's really doable because the randomize function is already in there. So if you press Control Alt and space, right, then you can shuffle the list.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I actually really love that feature. This is so cool. Hold on, I got I always forget about this feature, but yeah, essentially you can hold on, Control Alt space. Yeah, and then it just like shuffles the entire folder.
right.
Cool.
But at the same time, if you go like
So smart.
if you press Alt and space, then you directly play a random file, right? So it's like you can shuffle a list separately, but also play a
So cool.
random file. Uh,
That's awesome.
the advantage of like having like this list shuffle is that you can still use sequential playback, and you can go through like a fixed like shuffled list, right? So like go up and down, and you don't lose your position. Like when you put random playback on, then you can never go back, right? Because
Mm.
it's all completely random.
Right. Whereas the way this works is it just sort of like randomizes the numbers on the left, it seems like, and then
Yeah,
you just
exactly.
play something back.
And that's
Yeah,
actually
man.
that's
Uh,
also a thing that I want to use with MIDI playback. That's in the works now. So like MIDI control, um,
mm,
where you can choose some kind of a MIDI controller or something that you have left over on the side as a controller for Resonic, and then you can play it directly into the playlist that you have. So you can either like play the playlist and you can shuffle the playlist with that shortcut, and well, you just discover new sounds and new sound combinations on each key of your keyboard, for example, right? MIDI keyboard. So that's a thing that
would
is
that
pretty
be
creative.
like for just MIDI though, or for audio?
No, MIDI like you connect the MIDI keyboard and it maps like all the
Oh,
content of
right. You're saying you
the
could just play
folder.
a sample back quickly at any pitch if you want.
Well, also, but not at a pitch first. Like say you have like I don't know, a 61 key keyboard, and you just enter a folder playlist or you shuffle it or whatever, and you have those first 61 directly mapped on the keys, so you can
Mm,
just play them. You can find like the sequential order. You can play the sequential order. You can just shuffle like you just did with Control Alt and space. You could shuffle the whole content of the folder, the order of the files, and then every time you shuffle, you would get like a new set of a completely new randomized 61 keys on your keyboard.
Mm.
And you could just like, it's so creative. I tried it a few times already, and it's just every time I shuffle, I get a new like creative idea of like sounds, combinations of sounds that you would never even find together.
So I
So you
actually have
just
this idea that like creativity like doesn't live in a vacuum, right? You don't just get like inspired randomly. I feel like creativity is always due to some sort of stimulation of the outside world of some sort, you know? Like if you put somebody, I think, just in like a blank room, they're going to be a lot less inspired than if you put them around a bunch of stuff that's happening.
Mhm.
And I feel like quite often in the creative process, when I get stuck, often what I do is things like this, where I try to just like have something create some sort of stimulus for me. Generally, like like a randomizer plugin, or something like Resonic, where you can just like randomize a list of samples or something like that. And then I'm like, oh yeah, that, like you just said, it gives you some creative idea, right? And then you get yourself unstuck and you're able to keep writing, which I
It's
think
just
is really cool.
I just think random is awesome. Like random of any kind of like sort is random. I mean, evolution is the best example, right? For like how awesome random can be.
But
But
do you think evolution is random, or do you think that it was always going to go this way because it went this way? So it must have always.
I think evolution is random. That's the whole point of evolution. Is like to always like damage something, something damage in quotes, right? Like something changes and it's completely random. Like it tries something new and it evolves in quotes. Like when you think about it, like 99.99 periodically percent of all those randomizations, they fail, right? They go away again. And then whatever works, random is it is random, but is it? I have no idea. But in the end, like what's left over, like kind of works in a setting. So if you have like some area, say nature somewhere in a forest or somewhere, it doesn't matter, in some place in the world, and there's this little like refuge of like something, then something just worked there. And then something else worked in that context, and something else worked in a context, and like it all became this like system that just works.
Right, but the reason that it worked is not that random, right? Like, for instance, a sea creature being born in the sea and surviving in the sea versus a land creature being born in the sea and instantly drowning is not that random, right? Like, it's the fact that the sea creature survived and the land creature didn't, and they both were like evolved in the sea. Like, it's not that random that the sea creature survived, right? Like, that seems.
No, but think about all the bazillions of versions of the sea creature and the land creature that didn't survive in the same
Mm.
setting because they were eaten or they were just too weak or not. I don't know, they're too deep or too shallow or like too hot, too cold. I don't know, whatever, like, or a million other like variables, right? And that's like it's all random, but like what survives basically, right? Survival of the fittest and all that, like whatever survives in a setting just enough, like even if like 98% of all the, I don't know, baby turtles get eaten or something when they enter the back into the ocean, right? Then like 2% survive, and that seems to be enough for the process to work. And like everything that goes around it just works. And if you take that little thing and you put it in a different place in the world, maybe it wouldn't work, right?
Mm.
In the same place.
Yeah, true. I mean, yeah, I guess you're right. Like the fact that humans exist in this Goldilocks zone in the universe that just like so happens to have water and oxygen, and we just so happen to evolve here in this place that has water and oxygen and is just the right temperature and all that kind of stuff is kind of random, right? It's almost like this could have very easily not happened.
But then think about it the same way we're talking about like all these variations and versions of different things in the world. Now, if we ended up surviving here and working out like with all those like the the powers around us in the universe and everything, like everything needs to be like just right, like you said, like the distance, not too warm, not too cold. So if we're too close to the sun, it won't work. if you're too far from the sun, it won't work. If like gravity is a bit different, then we would look different, you know, like shorter, longer, whatever. Um, so now think about like for us existing here under these circumstances, like how many versions failed somewhere else in the universe. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Like you think that life tries to form constantly throughout the universe and just constantly fails?
Like evolution, right? It constantly tries to evolve. It constantly tries to survive, but most of it fails, and then something survives. But then, like how they say, like you know, this theory that like question is always where does it come from? Like what's the origin, you know? But like let's just cut that out and just assume like let's assume this theory that like life came on some kind of a asteroid or something, you know, and it broke up and it just like from wherever and it just went all the way into the universe, and then those like blocks of like life that eventually formed our evolution on this planet hit this planet, that planet over there, like is maybe still flying somewhere in the universe and like hits like loads of planets, but it doesn't even hit that much because there's a lot of space in between the planets. Like there's nothing, right? There's nothing. You think like, okay, it's going to spread out. It's going to hit a million planets. Not really. There's a lot of
Yeah,
nothing.
I've actually heard that if you get like two entire universes, so like the Milky Way galaxy, oh sorry, not two universes, two galaxies. So let's
Hmm.
say like the Milky Way galaxy and then whatever other galaxy, and they hit each other, apparently like nothing happens. They just go through each other
Yeah, right.
because
Exactly.
or
How
like
mad is
there's
that?
a yeah, there's like a 90 something percent chance that they just like fucking go through each other, no damage is done whatsoever because there's just so much empty space.
Exactly. When you like, when you look at like, I don't have any examples right now, but I've been on an observatory and they've been talking about like those two stars or like this like thing like formation of stars, star formation, and you had like was it 2 or 5 or 10, 20 stars, whatever, that are the closest to each other of all the stars in the vicinity, right? Like the closest, like a little like collection of stars. And then they said something between like along the lines of like, okay, between that star and the closest star to it, there is still like 10 light years between them. And you're like, or something like that, right? And you're like, what the fuck, man? You're like going on forever, forever. Like, what are the chances of anything hitting those?
Yeah, it's like if you took a, you know, a piece of A4 paper and put one grain of salt on it, and then like took another A4 piece of paper and put another grain of salt on it somewhere randomly, and you crossed those A4 pieces of paper over a million times with the grains of salt somewhere random on the piece of paper, the chances of those grains of salt hitting each other would probably be way higher than anything in the
Yeah,
galaxy hitting each other.
yeah, definitely. Exactly. Yeah, well, it's crazy. Like, you have countless stars in two galaxies and they won't hit each other.
It would actually be
But,
more probably akin to putting a grain of salt in the size of this room randomly, like on the 3D axis, and then doing that with two different rooms
mhm,
and having those
mhm.
go through each other a billion times. I bet you they would maybe hit once, if that.
Think about the ocean. It's kind of the same thing, right? I mean, think about it. Imagine you would look into the sky and the whole volume of sky, there's a volume, right? Like, so if you just point to a random place into the sky, a random direction, a random like distance, and then another one, and you would go like, okay, I'm gonna place two animals there. Like, what are the chances that they're very far away from each other? Because 3D, right? It's a volume. It's not flat. The chances that they're gonna cross is very low. So if,
Yeah.
if you just looked up the sky and had like everything is water, and then you put that underneath you, and then you have the ocean, and you're like, there's so much space for stuff to not ever meet, ever, 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 and this is just the ocean. It's not even the universe.
Have you ever talked to a flat earther?
Um, Unfortunately, I have.
What did you ask them how they think the Earth ends, like how they think the edge of the Earth ends?
No, I didn't bother. But
So there's a
have
few
you?
different. Yeah, I have. The guy that I talk to thinks that the Earth just keeps going. Like he doesn't think it's a circle that like goes, or a sphere that like goes around. He thinks it's just a disc that just goes forever.
A disc that goes forever.
Yeah.
So a plane.
Yeah, just a giant plane that just keeps going.
How does he know it's a disc then?
Uh just I don't know, he's seen pictures on the internet, just like we've seen pictures of the sphere on the internet. How do we know it's a sphere?
I I think I think the Earth is a pyramid and it's hollow. What can I say? I don't
It
know.
makes sense.
Yeah, doesn't it? Right?
Yeah. I mean, so long as it's spinning around, I it definitely do you think the earth is smoother than like a basketball or something like that? Or like I don't know, how smooth do you think the earth is in scale? Like so for how do I explain this? Like how the earth has like a shitload of mountains on it and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Do you think if you were to like scale that down into the size of a basketball, it would have like a very rough like edge, or do you think it'd be like completely smooth because of the scale of the earth and how much those mountains and stuff would be scaled down?
Wow. I think it would have like more, I guess, more raggedy edges. It would be more like well, a bit sharper because a basketball has like dimples, right? Or like not dimples, like little bumps.
Yeah, so
But
apparently
but
it's like it would be incredibly smooth.
yeah, all I know is that when you open Google Earth, right? I'm always surprised. I'm actually like always shocked, like how flat the mountains are.
Yeah,
Right? It's
exactly. Because like once you
like
scale everything out, it's like everything gets like so much smaller.
yeah, but also when you go into the mountains, like and when I've been up on a glacier or something, right, in the Alps, and then you see how it looks for real, and you see that. And then you go in Google Earth and you try to reconstruct a place like with GPS coordinates and stuff like where you have been and try to reproduce the same view, right? And it looks so flat. It looks exactly the same. So the scale is right, the height is right. Like because I thought it's like that must be wrong, but it's really like the mountains don't really look that tall, right? And you can change the scale to be like vertically like be scaled up like to like 5 times as much, and then you go like, okay, this looks more like it, right? But it really is that flat, and it's fascinating. Like when you zoom out, then you're like, this it? Is this the Grand Canyon? Like that looks really flat. So, well, yeah, could be that it's really smooth.
Yeah, I think it's just that we're so small, right? Like even when we go up in an aeroplane, I think the equivalent, if you again to use the basketball analogy, would be the size of us like leaving that basketball by like a millimeter, like if that.
That is not much.
Oh, it just started raining. God damn it! I wanted to go ride my bike. I got a so like I've recently I got into mountain biking. I've talked about this a shitload on the podcast, but I for the last few months I've like had this loaner bike from the bike shop that I was purchasing my bike from, and then yesterday my bike actually came in. So I was looking forward to riding it for like the first time properly today, but it just started raining,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
same here. Like there's no riding a bike here. Do
Damn.
you
Oh yeah,
like?
you're in Germany, right?
No, I'm in Austria.
Austria. Gotcha.
I'm in the south here. Like I have somewhat mountainous regions here, so like it's kind of nice to like just go out, and I do a bit of photography. I do bike. It's just awesome to be outside, to just
You road
surround
bike
yourself.
or mountain bike?
Road bike mostly.
Mm, nice.
I would like to do mountain biking, but I've not really gotten into that, because you need to kind of get like all the stuff that comes with it, like some like thing that you attach to your car that you can transport the bike up into the mountains and stuff like, and that's all a bit like seems like a bit of a hassle at the moment.
Yeah, it
But
is. Mountain biking is not a cheap thing to get into. That's for sure.
exactly,
You
exactly.
need like a bunch of pads and shit if you don't want to die, basically. And then yeah, you need a car rack, and then you obviously you need a like a good bike because I mean, with some of the shit that you ride over, it's like you don't want to be riding over that in a bike that doesn't have proper suspension or anything like that. And
Are you riding a normal mountain bike, or is it like one of those? Have you ever tried those downhill bikes? You know, the fat wheels,
oh yeah, I mean,
or the two.
I have a downhill bike, but it's not the one with like fat wheels. It's the one like what the difference is between like a trail bike or a cross country bike or a downhill enduro bike is it's just all about, or pretty much all about the travel in the forks. So basically with a cross country bike or a trail bike or whatever, you'll get like 130 millimeters to 150 millimeters of travel in the forks. And with an enduro bike, you'll get more like 160 to 180 millimeters of travel in the fork. So it's just a lot squishier. It can take a lot more of an impact.
Right. Yeah.
And it's just more, I guess, built for taking a beating on like a pretty nasty downhill track. And then there's also another big thing that comes into it is called geometry. And geometry is just like the length of the head tube, the length of the seat post, the length of the bottom bracket, like all that kind of stuff. um, and there's sort of two different designs. There's like shorter tighter geometries and there's longer slacker geometries, and depending on which one depends on like more whether it's a downhill bike or a trail bike, and they kind of ride a little differently and feel a bit different. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff to think about, I guess. And yeah, with enduro bikes, you get those tires that have those long nubby uh, things on the wheels that help really grip into the ground and stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, they're insane machines, man. Like since getting into mountain biking, I'm just one of the things that I'm most into about it is just how impressive like the technology is. It's like it blows me away. Like I'm heavy, right? Like I'm 210 pounds or something like that,
Mm.
and like I can drop off like a 3 to 6 foot thing, and my entire weight can come down on this bike, and it's fine. And like not only that, like I can go down a crazy hill that's just full of like sharp rocks and like you know water bars with like screws coming out of it and like just the nastiest shit. And I'm for sure going to get a flat tire, and nope, 9 times out of 10 I don't get a flat tire. It's crazy just how good the technology is.
Are these the ones that still have like tubes inside, or are this already the ones that just blow up without tubes, like kind of like
Yeah, tubeless
car wheels?
tires. Uh,
Tubeless.
yeah, yeah. The one I think my bike has tubes in it.
Right.
But yeah, there is tubeless tires as well. But either way, I mean, like changing a tire on a bike takes like 20 minutes if you know how to do it.
Right. Yeah. It's not that bad.
Yeah,
Do you have like do you live close to the mountains where you are now?
pretty close. I mean, I can get to some pretty sweet mountain biking trails within 20 to 30 minutes.
Nice. Is it close to Twin Peaks or something?
I'm yeah, exactly. I'm not far from Twin Peaks at all.
Nice.
Actually,
Nice.
that's where I go riding quite a lot. So Twin Peaks is actually right between these two really good spots to mountain bike. One is called Mount Sutro, and then over the other side is another place called Laguna Honda. And I sort of ride from my house to Mount Sutro, do that whole track, and then I ride through Twin Peaks to Laguna Honda, do that whole track, and then ride home. So it's kind of like a
Right.
nice loop.
How far is that? The
Um,
whole trip?
Maybe 15, 20 miles.
Oh, right. Okay. That's that's quite something. There's like I live close to a big lake here, so that it's kind of nice to like go around that lake. You know, like just you can just go around the whole thing, and it's probably like I don't even know, to be honest, how much that is. It must be around like 50 kilometers. That should be like, I don't know, 30 miles,
Yeah.
35. I don't know like exactly how much that is.
And you ride that whole
Um,
thing?
well, it's yeah, but it's mostly flat. You know, it's like it has some bumps, you know, hills, but it's a nice trek around that. and like typically like once a year they lock the whole thing down, so you can like go around the whole thing, which is nice. So like you're cycling like you directly on the roads,
Mm.
so the cars are like locked out and everything. It's pretty nice. Like also like, which I haven't done yet, you have like alpine roads that you can go all the way up, and they're pretty long. But I'm kind of scared to do that because, man, I've seen people like go up there, and it's they don't look good, man. I mean, they look very healthy, but they don't look happy going up there. So
So
I'd
I've
rather
only
go down.
ridden a road bike once. I hired a nice Cannondale road bike from Sports Basement like a month ago or something, or 2 months ago,
Mm.
and I was just like, man, these things just feel like way cheaper to ride than a good mountain bike. And not only that, but like when you're riding down a road or something, you feel like every bump, it's like not that comfortable to ride. Whereas on a mountain bike, I feel like the drivetrains are just like a lot more seamless and nice. And I feel um, like the gears make a lot more sense. I feel like with a road bike, you having the two gears, the front and the back is kind of pretty confusing. And then I also feel like just having suspension is really nice.
Actually, I'm on a 7 gear bike, like a quite an old one. So, like,
Mm.
if you want to go up a hill, then you're already sweating. It's not really nice, but I like the bike. I got used to it, so I'm having like, it even has an 8. Like it's kind of like bent the back wheel, so I have to get something new. Maybe going to
Mm.
mountain biking. I don't know.
You just have to
Maybe I'll look into that.
what do they call it? Truing the wheel.
Mm. Yeah, problem is that it's not a normal wheel, because it has the gears in the back of the
Uh,
wheel, so it has a gear shifter inside. So if you have the normal chain one, then it's easy. But where it switches between the different like gears, like how do you even call them? I have no idea. Anyways, it's mine only has one chain, and it always stays in the same place, and there's a gear box basically, that shifts between those seven gears, and when that thing bends or when something breaks, then it's kind of fucked. You need to replace the whole wheel,
yeah.
and that's annoying. The other ones you can just hammer straight.
Mm.
But yeah, that's that. Do you like? Do you like? What do you like most actually? Like, which bike do you prefer? Like, do you prefer to go downhill, or do you always go for the mountain bike?
I prefer downhill mostly, which I mean is essentially mountain biking anyway, right? Like the difference between, I guess, trail biking and mountain biking is trail biking is just the same thing, but like you can go downhill on it as well. It's just a little less comfortable. Um, but I don't, yeah, it's hard to say. I mean, I like doing jumps as well, which is, requires some sort of bike with suspension. Um, yeah, I don't know. I like a mixture, I guess, of like trail jumps and enduro.
So it's one is more like about the speed, I guess. Like what gets you into that
Yeah,
is
like what's the
probably what
value of
I'm.
it?
Not what the value is. More like what do you like about it? Is it the speed when you're downhilling?
It's a mixture of things. I mean, I think it's partially the speed. It's also like the flowiness of it that I really like. Like I really like just being forced into this like enhanced flow state where if you're not in the flow state, like the cost of it is you get hurt, right? So it just like forces you into like not thinking about anything else other than riding, which is really nice. Because it kind of gives my brain a break from like thinking about other shit in this weird way, even though I'm like having to think really hard about a thing. Feels like in some way weirdly relaxing and freeing. So that's really nice. I also like the fact that it's exercise, right? Like, and it's enjoyable exercise.
Mhm.
I think it's also like partially nostalgic for me because I like rode a mountain bike around when I was a teenager a lot, and I also like the adrenaline aspect of it. Like, I like the fact that doing it is like, you know on the borderline of scary, but mostly like fun and just thrilling. I think that would be the main things that I like about it.
Does it put you in a state where you're like completely like taken out of the rest of the world, you know, like that moment, that like that situation where you get completely like your your brain gets completely like how should I put it, the mind gets cleared and you're just completely focused on what is happening, and it doesn't even feel real sometimes. Do you get that feeling doing that?
I would say like for small periods,
Mm-hmm.
because always
Mm-hmm.
in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't hurt myself because like I got shit to do. So like there's always this like attachment to reality still where I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
need to, not be completely engrossed in just doing whatever I want here. Like I have to be careful as well so I don't end up with a broken leg or, broken wrist or whatever, broken
Yeah,
collarbone.
right, yeah, that would be
Um,
bad.
yeah, so I'm constantly like thinking about that. But yeah, there's definitely like these small snippets, I think, where I'm like, where I feel very detached from my normal life and and very just in the moment, which is good.
Oh, that's nice. I get that scuba diving, you know, like when you enter that world and you like it just like stops, you know, like everything stops. It's fascinating. Like from I don't know like how it is for other people, but it's like for me it's like you enter this world and it's so alien, you know, like it's the most alien world there is, right? At least to
Mm.
me. Like in the reality. It's real, but it feels like you're entering a different universe, a different dimension. Like it's strange. The moment you're like fully like in it is, and you sink into it, you realize it, and it feels like um, well, my mind blanks. Like nothing can make my mind blank. Really, only this. Like it's I don't know why that happens, but you get so humble. You get so like even if it's just a lake, you know, like a lake looks different, you know, like if the ocean, it's you have clear water and you see really far, but the lake is murky, you know, like it's greenish and like it's all kind of like in some kind of a horror film in a forest, you know, like going deep in the forest and you have those like um, I don't know, foggy environments and stuff. So like you don't really see that far, but like for me it blanks and it's maybe also the cold because it gets cold really quick. Like only like 10 meters down or something, it's already like icy sometimes. But it's a beautiful thing to like enter and then be allowed to leave again. I mean, I also need to think about reality and go like, yeah, I kind of have to get back up and stuff. I don't want to go down, be a fish, and stay here and live here. It would be awesome. I mean, yeah, right. I'd
Do
be
you
okay
do you
being
scuba dive often?
no, not really. But whenever it's possible, right? Like not that much recently, but it's always nice, like a little bit. Um, but you know, like I'd be okay being a mermaid. You know, if that would be the trade. You know, like fine, fine, it's okay. But you know, then you're like, I can't go down there and live down there, so you have to kind of go back up. And but then it's always fascinating when you come out of it, and the mind immediately like fills up again, right? It's like almost like as the water drains off you, the thoughts drain back into you. Like it's crazy, but it helps, you know, like it helps to get like um, get some perspective, right? Or like have an actual timeout when you can sit down and I don't know, call it meditating or whatever, like meditating in the way, you know, like just focusing. I call it focusing more than anything else. You just focus on something, and but it's always like you have to do something, right, actively to make that happen, and it's never gone. But in that case, it's just like blank, and that is incredible. I think
Yeah, nice.
it's
Um,
emotional.
yeah, fuck yeah. So I gotta go, unfortunately, because I have delivery for groceries showing up in about 10 minutes or something like that. Yeah, basically, like lately, I just haven't been going shopping. I just been ordering all of my groceries from Amazon Fresh, which is like it kind of works out alright. If you just get over $35 worth of groceries, like it delivers for free, so it just saves me having to go to the store and potentially get COVID, especially with this new strain going around. Um,
Has the UK strain hit America now?
It has. Has it hit Austria?
Yeah. It's
Yeah, I think
coming. Like they
it's
say,
hit
like,
everywhere. I mean, like they say, it's 50% more likely to infect you, so it's going to spread twice as fast, or 1.5 times as fast, or whatever, as the original strain.
well, they said it's like gonna hit apparently like mid February, like beginning of March or something.
Think about how quick the last strain happened. You know, it was like it was we found out about it in like late January or something, and it was like worldwide spread by early March. And then everything was locked down by like late March, and then it was just completely rampant by like April, right? So it was like a matter of 3 months or something like that between when we like first knew about it and between when it was everywhere.
Mm,
So let's say it's like 1.5 times faster than that. But then let's think about exponentiality, right? It's not just going to happen exactly 1.5 times as fast. It's going to be exponential, like 1.5 times exponentially, whatever, how the fuck you work that maths out. I have no idea. But like, I think it's going to be less than that. It's going to be like a matter of weeks.
right, yeah. Well, I just hope that it's I don't know, it's going down here at the moment. So it's we had a super big peak just a month ago or so. But I think it was like 3 times as high as in April. But it fell the same at the same rate, like it went up and then straight down again, and now it's falling. But the thing is, now this strain is coming, and well, you know, people, especially in the countryside, and so that they're still meeting up, they're still having their parties going, like whatever, like countryside. So I'm just hoping that it's gonna, like, I don't know, people get it this time a little bit more, hopefully,
I think if
and just
anything, people are going to get it less because they're going to be like, well, like the first strain happened and that hasn't killed me, or I haven't got it yet. So like, who gives a shit? And they're not going to appreciate like how much more infectious this other strain is, maybe. And then, uh, you know, might be
right.
worse.
It's just always like that when you hear that, like, oh, it's all a lie. I it just gets to
Against
me, like,
the
it gets to
tinfoil
me.
hat people.
Yeah, exactly. Flat earthers,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, totally. Well, shit, man. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. Where can
Thanks for having me.
people? Yeah, of course. So two questions, I guess, to finish. Where can people get Resonic, and also when is a Mac version coming for those who use Mac?
Right, I hear that all the time. I don't think a Mac version is coming anytime soon. We're gonna wait it out now, with all that move to ARM, and see where that goes. If it's all gonna become like a glorified iPad, opening the App Store and that, and, like, I think like it will hit many like little developers and medium developers in the process, because well, it's just where you have to finance it somehow, and if the target audience changes, we see more and more people come over from Mac, and I always ask them why, and it's always the same thing. It's always down to like the politics of what they're doing at the moment, and that it's just not worth it. And I get that a lot, and more than ever now. So I think it's a good time to wait that out and see what happens.
Mm,
I just want to say, uh, people can always get, like, regardless, like, they can come on. We have a Discord, and maybe you can link that. Um, People can always come on. They can talk to us. Like, I'm usually on there. We're, by the way, with two people. Like, the other half is actually Martin. He's not on there yet. I will still try to get him there. But I'm usually there, and I hang out there, and we have a community of just random people, basically. Like, they're like from all like directions of audio, like, and that's the beauty of it. So like, you have like music producers like us on one side, and then you have like people working in film, in game audio, like in like score recording and ADR, and like it's broadcasting, like it's completely different, and everything is in its own sense exciting. And so anybody can come on, anybody can talk to us. It's not just about Resonic. It's just generally like a creative space. That's the idea. And about trial versions. Everybody can have trial versions of Resonic Pro. Like, I give them out for like at least 3 months. At the moment, I'm giving out 4 months. So like, because I want people to try the thing and to be be happy with it, participate with it, and like when you let people be involved with the project that you're working on, then well, they're shaping it actively, and I would like that, and I like that very much.
Oh
So,
shit, my groceries are here.
all
Hold
right,
on, I'll be right back. Just give me 1 second.
okay, okay.
All right, cool. Yeah, sorry, I just didn't want them to get stolen off my doorstep. Yeah, cool, man. So people should go to the Discord, and you're happy to give them trial versions. So the difference between Resonic Free and Resonic Pro is what?
Well, the free is basically what I started in 2011. It's that was my idea of just a player, something that you can click through stuff, and then well, you kind of after like several years, you have to like kind of finance it, right? So I decided to like well make a pro version and put everything in the pro from there on out, and just the player is usually it's kept in white. It's a bright player. It started that way. I'm gonna keep it that way. It's just a player. Like if someone wants to listen to tunes or like browse a few audio files, it is still going to be free, right? It always was free. And the pro is like more focused on professional stuff, like more creative stuff, like playing around with your, toying around with your sounds and like splitting them. You can extract segments of audio. You can like batch convert. You can like lay down, do the meta stuff and the auto tag stuff, and like it should be a creative, a fun way to get you to work with your samples. Really, that's the goal. Like aside from being like a sample manager and all that audio player kind of thing, but it also plays like literally every format that we have at the moment, right? Including like audio out of video files and stuff. So yeah, that's basically that.
Nice. Well,
And
yeah,
obvious,
I
I just
definitely. Sorry, go on.
no, I just wanted to say that like on the website, because really the last 2 years were a bit harsh, like to say the least. For me personally, like the last year kind of imploded my life. Don't want to go into that too much, but like it all like 2019, I lost a lot of hardware and like a lightning strike, and some gear went, and then it just Corona, and then after that like didn't end that really well. But so officially there is the last version is from 2019, but we're having like alpha versions come out all the time, and they can also be tested on a Discord and tried. So I'm I'm welcoming everyone to just join and just have a look, like what is going on, what we're doing, and what's new. And like I said, like it's an honor thing that the community is involved with the whole thing, and it should be that way, because how often did you go to like some developer and go like, oh, what about this and that, and they don't hear you, you don't even reach them, you can't even talk to them. So this is something that I want to do differently. I just want to not be the developer or someone special. I just want to be a person there who's making something, and people can come in and just have a conversation about it, and like add in the ideas and like suggestions and do that, right? And be involved with it.
I feel like that's kind of the future of technology in general, right? It's like no longer does there need to be this crazy barrier for the most part. I mean, I guess unless you're like trying to scale something up to a massive degree like Apple is or something like that. But I think it's pretty normal these days for somebody like you or I to just have a Discord where people can come in and chat to us directly about the work that we're doing. And I think that's like a healthier relationship to have with your audience anyway. It's like nice to be able to, you know, um, just quickly back and forth with like Steve Duda with Serum is like this. He's like, yeah, people email me all the time saying, oh, I wish Serum had something like this in it, and like he quickly code it up in an afternoon and release it with like a a patch because he's just one guy. He doesn't need to have a shit ton of meetings with other people to go through a ton of red tape to release something. And I think
It's not practical anymore because it takes too long. I mean, this whole project has been stretching, but for other reasons, you know. So, but yeah, like what you do. Like, by the way, I appreciate it very much what you do and how you do it. Just have to say it here because it's like I feel like it's a very like dominant thing in everything that people just they pretend like they're using black magic or something. you know, it's all magic. It's magical. You know, like they make it into like something that is undoable for other people. You know, you can't do that. You're not me. You're not special. You know, that kind of thing. You know, like everything is hidden. Everything is like, come on, we're all using the same stuff. Like it, like yeah, some people are more talented or have more patience, right, to stick with the thing and then learn that and then get better at it. But in the end, we all use the same tech. You and I and everybody has the same access to the same tech. You know, so like, and you for example, you're not like hiding that. You're not saying like, okay, like look, people, I'm gonna make this, and I'm not gonna tell you how it's done. It's magic. You just show people how it works, and people learn from that, you know. And that's exactly how it should be, and that's how I like to do it as well. Like when I stream something, then well, if someone asks me something about coding or something, then I open up the code and I show them, right? It's like, what am I hiding? Like, what am I scared of? Like, you know, it's just a way to, we are all the same in the end. Might as well act like that, right?
yeah, totally. Well, man, it was a pleasure having you on, and yeah, I look forward to speaking to you again at some point about all of this stuff. And I also obviously look forward to just seeing where Resonic goes and the kind of updates that it gets in the future, especially all of this sample searching stuff. I'm really excited for that.
Right, and that miniature waveform that hasn't happened yet. the,
Yeah.
people are like still like, yeah, wow, Bill showed me that. Did that leak or something? I don't know. No, I did show you, but yeah, like not gone anywhere. But there's going to be like also like an FFT, like a spectrum overview in the same way, like you have a miniature waveform. So that's coming, definitely coming.
Nice. Sick, man. Well, yeah, thanks again.
Thanks for having me again.
All right. I'm hitting stop on my record.